Dinah Lance.
But it would be nothing.
But she prefers Black Canary.
Nothing.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with That's NewsStand, and I want to talk about a book I announced a while ago. Now, this is from the DC Icon series. It is called Black Canary, Breaking Silence, and it is by Alexandra Moner. Now, I'm going to do this in chapters, so they will be in the description, but please, before I even go into this, I want to kind of put a disclaimer out there. Don't judge, just listen to the end, and then go ahead and judge away. But with all that being said, before I even go into it, I want to play a clip for you, giving a background to why this story was written, but my computer is being a little bit of a jerk today, so if it suddenly skips this part, I will put it in the pinned comment. So let's take a look. This is an interview by Casually Comics. Now, the interview is really well done. I enjoyed the entire thing of it, but Casually Comics gets the inspiration. But I think it's really important to include this because it gives us background why this story was written.
Mm-hmm. And then when I was first thinking what kind of Black Canary story I would tell, for me, what has always struck me about her as a character and really meant a lot to me is the fact that her power is in her voice. Because women have historically been silenced so much, and I have a very sort of personal relationship to this because my family, they're all
so pretty and has such great
Iranian.
Energy. I love it.
I was born in America, but my parents, they escaped from Iran after the revolution of 1979. And they came here, but before the revolution, women had so many rights and they were, very powerful. My grandmother, I don't know if you can see her. Oh, there she is right behind me, Monir Vakhili. She was Iran's foremost opera singer, and
so
she was
sweet.
a big star who also did a lot to elevate women coming up in the arts. She opened the first boarding school where girls and boys together. It was the first co-ed school where they could learn classical singing like her. She even made it affordable so that you didn't have to come from one of the fancy aristocratic families to get this kind of arts knowledge. So she did so much, but then when the regime changed after the revolution of 1979, everything changed immediately. Women's rights were just completely stripped to the point where, and it still lasts to this day, in 2021, if you are a woman and you sing publicly, you can go to jail. I wish I was kidding, but it's true. And so
that's basically it. Like I said, I will put the entire thing in the actual pinned comment, but it's important because still to this day in Iran, you can't sing as a woman out loud, and that's very foreign to where we live, and it almost makes you kind of more thankful for living in America, right? So not to mention just that, there is one other thing I want to share before getting into it. This was such a passion project to this writer. Alexandra went all in on it. Now, she is a singer-songwriter, and she even personally wrote music and lyrics for all the songs that were featured in this book, and they actually did release one. And I want to and I'm not going to play too much of it simply because it is, I don't know if it's copywritten or not. I just want to play just a little clip of it because I think it's really cool that they actually did it. It was featured also on the trailer for it, right?
Sisters and mothers, our planet's daughters, all ages, colors, voices unite. No more staying quiet when our world's gone wrong.
And skip around a little bit just to give you a basic idea of what we're playing here. Like, I think it's so cool, right? It's such a neat idea, but that's all I wanted to show you kind of in the beginning here. Now I'm going to go over Breaking Silence, and I want to talk about it. So let's talk about the plot, right? This is a Handmaid's Tale meets the DC universe and a different version of an origin story for Black Canary 2. Now, her voice is her weapon, and she lives in the future where women have no rights. She won't hesitate, though, to use everything that she has to fight back. Now, Dinah Lance is 17 years old. She has overheard the impossible. The sound of a girl singing. It was something she was never meant to hear, at least in her lifetime, and definitely not in Gotham City, which is taken over by the Court of Owls. Obviously, the Court of Owls is the sinister organization that rules Gotham as a patriarchal dictatorship, all the while spreading their influence across the globe like a virus. Now, 17, and Dinah can't forget that haunting sound when she heard the first song at 7 years old. She's beginning to discover her own voice is just as powerful, but singing is forbidden, and it is a one-way death sentence ticket, right? So can she balance her father's desire to stop and keep her safe, a blossoming romance with the mysterious new student Oliver Queen, and her own desire to help other women and girls rise and finally be heard? And will her voice be powerful enough to destroy the Court of Owls once and for all? All right, we've got the plot. Everyone understands what we're going into here. And if you've been here long enough, you know I actually spoke out against this book. So it is a coming of age. Let's do the overview. It is a coming of age story. It is an adventure crossed with a superhero origin story and dystopian fiction. I listened to it on Audible, so I don't know if there's any differences, but the narrator did a great job. Younger version of Dinah Lance ends up being Black Canary too. It is, it's quite a bit in the future because we know we have the Batman problem, right? And actually, in that interview I just talked about, they talk about the Batman problem. Well, he's aged up and he's gone now, right? So the Batman problem isn't an issue, but it is a bleak place ruled by the Court of Owls where women have no rights and no voice, literally. There is something called the silencing, and it's a poisonous gas that removed all women's ability to sing. Yeah, it's kind of messed up. So not only is their voices removed, but they have basically become secondhand citizens. Very similar to what we're seeing with Mask in the current run of Batman. Women are forced to be modest and dress accordingly. No short skirts and no skinny jeans, which they do love by the end. When allowed to have jobs and not just be homemakers, it's only the approved jobs, such as Dinah's mother, who was allowed to be a florist, or some can be teachers or librarians. Now, the education system is also limited for women, learning less physics and algebra, more home ec, more sewing, more cooking, right? So we have the little rebellious Dinah Lance, and she comes in and she hates the world that the Owls and the Talons have made and wants more. She hates Gotham's restrictions. She hates her oppressors. Plot-wise, the story really isn't full of shocking twists and turns. But that doesn't mean it's not compelling. I'm not saying that. It can even be predictable in a few places. But the finesse in which it is done is why it stands out and why I'm actually reviewing this. As someone who spoke out against this novel when it was announced, and as someone who complains about the rot that we see in current day comics, more Marvel than DC, but even so, I was very surprised. This book, it doesn't shy away from topics like corruption or oppression or masculinity and femininity, even to the point of consent of a kiss. There's one huge difference here. It doesn't feel preachy. One point I clearly want in this book is that line never to be crossed in any real comic book, right? To a point of disagreeing with the idea that Ollie had to ask for his first kiss, the consent kiss, right? Yeah, don't take the romance away, man. You don't have to ask for that. But that's just this woman's position. Like I said, it wasn't preachy. It left those points up for me to make up my mind, not the writer to tell me how to think. And I really actually respect that. There are a few times when I was listening to this and I seriously thought, what made me so reactionary to this novel? being announced? Is it my channel? My personality? Is it the drive for views or the disdain for the way I'm treated by most? I don't know what it is. Honestly, I don't. But it's something I have slowly been working on, and that's on me. So my apologies to the author, Alexandra, for judging. But that wasn't the only thing I thought when I was listening to this. I actually wish, and still do, that more people would pick up this book when writing topics on social justice, because it was done with the finesse that you want to see. And honestly, I'm impressed. Another thing that really impressed me was the romantic storyline. And of course, it wouldn't be a younger book without a romantic storyline, but it wasn't too forthcoming. And it really did take a backseat to the rest of the plot. Yes, the romance was budding between Dinah and Ollie. I kind of combined those names there. But it didn't feel forced, and it didn't feel like a teenager who had more on her mind than a love interest. Of course, she had those little weird feelings that we get as a teenager, right? But she really was more interested in saving the town of Gotham and learning about her mother, learning the Court of Owls, how to take them down. All of that, more than Oliver, and I like that. Another thing I really appreciate about the author is the fact that she is a singer and a songwriter. And like I showed you in the beginning, we got that individual song. I thought it was really cool to hear, not to mention all of the Easter eggs that was hidden throughout the entire plot. My favorite being Ragman, who was never actually, mentioned by Ragman. He was mentioned by his real name, Rory Regan, but diehard fans absolutely knew and will be able to pick out the Easter eggs she sprinkled throughout the entire book. Even though, not diehard fans will still love it. I'm not saying that, but there are a few criticisms. Basically, the whole Ollie betrayal that happened towards the end was very predictable. And Dinah's smart in this book. She should have been able to see what was going on. I was mildly disappointed with the end. I'm not going to lie. Yes, an original character did pass away, but I wanted more consequences for the entirety of the team. It sounds kind of like I'm saying I wanted more death, right? Which I kind of am. But more consequences for the DC characters would have been, honestly, a good addition. So we're going to go through those characters right now and a little bit. Of course, let's start with Dinah. She is the main character and has the most development. She goes from being a normal kid at school to wanting more, to digging to find out about her mother, to having her father stop her, to actually going up against, eventually, the Talons, going into Arkham, going up against the Court of Owls, and finding out a lot about them, how to stop them, and eventually make an antidote with the help of Oracle to reverse the silencing, right? So she definitely is a young girl with a lot of big dreams, And in this patriarchal setting where the Court of Owls rule and the Talons enforce, her mother, the original Black Canary, is completely gone. And she lives with her father, Larry. Why they changed the name, I'm not sure. And it's really one of the only change they made to the Batman mythos. But Larry Lance is also a detective. He pretends to work for the court. He is loving, but an extremely protective father. We also have some original characters. And the way she did this was honestly really, really cool. They're all going to be descendants, right? Because this takes place in the future. So let's talk about them. We have the popular kids, the ones who are more privileged, right? So we have Zed Cobblebot. He's our main antagonist. At least he's the worst, in my opinion. Obviously a descendant of Penguin, right? Penguin is now the mayor also. So we also have Tom Elliott, who is a descendant of his father, Hush, right? Tommy Jr., get it? Funny, huh? And we also, there's actually two. I love that she did this digging. We have Natasha Wycliffe, who is a descendant of John Wycliffe, who is the Grand Master of the Court of Owls. Those three basically rule the school, right? And we have two very important original characters. One by the name of Ty Carver and one by the name of Mandy Harper. Now, I should have seen this. Ty is a descendant of Alton Carver. I can't believe I was not able to guess that twist. And by the end, Ty ends up being on the side of the Court of Owls, right? And Mandy is a descendant of Roy Harper. I love this. Now, this lady 100% did her research. There's no way to even doubt that. Now, without having heroes in Gotham City, and there are still a few hiding in the shadows, right? Not too many, but clearly Dinah and Oliver. And I said earlier, we meet Ragman, Rory Reagan, who unfortunately ends up becoming a talent, because when these people die, obviously, if you know the Court of Owls, they can take them, they become a talent, right? So then we also have Barbara Gordon, who kind of skips over Batgirl, but she does become Oracle. And I love Barbara as Oracle, probably my favorite. So I was happy to see that. Oh, girl, Lady Shiva. I really liked her in the story. Like, I love Lady Shiva anyway in Talia al Ghul, but she was a badass. And they actually had her in a little bit of a mentor position, and I really enjoyed that side of her. So now, of course, we have the talent in the Court of Owls. There are teachers and other small side characters. But like I said, they're more side characters than anything. So, conclusion of this whole entire book. This is oddly powerful to me for a couple different reasons. First off, this proves that good social justice stories can be told when the talent is there. But when the talent is absent, we end up with new warriors or internet gas or something like that. But more than anything, this kind of made me look at myself. There are so many times where I use music to uplift myself. I'm not kidding. Before every single video I make, every single video I record, I have I call it my Get Pumped song, and I listen to it. And I usually sing as loud as I can, and it gives me happiness. It gives me energy, right? It makes me feel powerful. But as silly as it sounds, I still do that every single time I record. But what if I couldn't? I would be a completely different person without music. Not to mention, at some point or another, we all, as a society, feel like we're not listened to. Feel like people don't care. No one wants to hear us. And unfortunately, this came at a perfect time for me. People with traumatic baggage can be triggered by anything, right? And the other day I was listening to a Philip DeFranco video about Jake Paul, and I've been feeling off ever since. Small grows kind of did its job. I don't feel as small. And I'm actually pretty thankful for this story. It came at the exact right time. And I know it sounds stupid. I know that. I know it does. But sometimes we need those empowering stories. And this was a really, really good one. I'm shocked. I'm going to work on being less reactionary. And, hats off to the author. She did a fantastic job with this. So let me know, of course, what you guys think about this. If you have even read it, I know it's a long book, but let me know what you think. I'm curious to see comments down below. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.